Hello, I'm Anna, the Yarn Randomizer, and this is going to be my first attempt at recording a video trying to figure out what to do with this yarn. Um, I'm still figuring out the ins and outs of using OBS Studio and that kind of stuff, so bear with me. I'm hoping these recordings will improve over time. But this yarn, let's see if we can look this up really quick. I'll put this down. So if I go to my stash, and I look up it's a sock blank, so I should be able to find it just searching on blank, and here it is. So this is the yarn I'm trying to figure out what to do with. Fibernymph Dye Works Happenstance sock blank in the color dark fire. Now, when I get a yarn like this and I'm trying to figure out what to do, one of the things I'll frequently do is see if what anybody else has done with this yarn in this colorway. So if I take a look, if I click on Darkfire, I can see two other people besides me have this yarn. And if you want to see what people have done with it, we're viewing it in their stash. But if we go up to click on projects up here, we can see what people done. Nobody's done. Nobody has any recorded projects with it yet. So there's that. So yeah, now another choice would be, if we go back to the yarn, is I can actually look at their yarn page for these blanks, and you can see there's a variety of blanks. There's a couple of example pictures, and you see some in people's stash. And you can actually look at all the ones that are in people's stash with that bottom link on a yarn page. Now I'm going to go back. The other thing you can look at is, what have people made with these sock blanks? And so I can click on it's been stashed 100 times, so we know there's 100 examples of it in people's stashes, and we know 109 projects have been made. So I'm going to look at the projects that people have made, and it's mostly socks. So I can see that. There's no example of the colorway that I have. But one of the things to think about with these sock blanks is kind of different than a hand-dyed skein, is that you won't have the same kind of color pooling happen, at least not in the same way that you do when you're making things like socks and stuff. And you can see that, there's a little pooling, but it's not going to be with the type of, how sometimes you'll get color pooling that winds all the way up the sock and that kind of stuff. It's going to be a little more irregular with a dyed sock blank, unless it's also dyed lengthways, if it has regular, consistently occurring colors in the same spot across the rows, there's the potential for pooling with that as well. So, done that. And so, my thinking was, with this yarn, I wasn't sure I wanted to make a pair of socks. I've got another pair of socks on the needles right now, and I was kind of trying to think of something different to do with it. The one thing is, this sock blank was a single strand sock blank. So the interesting thing with a double strand sock blank is you can get two identical socks with a double strand sock blank, because you'll have two strands that have the exact same coloring. With this one, say if I made two socks, they'd be, what do they call it, fraternal twins, not identical twins. And so I was less interested in doing socks, in part because of that. So usually one of the first ways I'll go look for a pattern to do is I'll go to the patterns page. Now give me a moment here. I'll look back. I want to see the yardage is 463 yards. If you're familiar with buying indie dyed yarn, 463 yards for a fingering skein that's a 75-25, pretty common. I think there's some manufacturer that has this style of sock yarn that they have, that many of the independent dyers use, so that's pretty common. So now I'm going to go to the patterns page, and the first thing I'll do is an advanced search. And so what I'm going to start doing is limiting things so that I can look at possibilities for this yarn. So first thing is I'm going to put in the top range of 463 yards. Apply that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it as fingering or light fingering. I figure I can make it work for patterns of either variety. And now we'll come here. And now the next thing to look at is how you sort the order of the patterns here. Something that's kind of fun to do is you can look, often I will look at what has had the most projects in that order. And so it's no surprise that Hermione's Everyday Socks come up here. But you can also sort these to Hot Right Now, which is what a lot of people are looking at right now on Ravelry. So you can look at them in either order. Now, one of the other things I'm going to do is I've decided I don't want to make socks out of this yarn. So I am going to exclude socks. So there's this category here, and I'm going to look at feet and legs. I'm going to put all feet and legs. So now you see at first, it's going to show just that. But now I'm going to come down here and adjust. I'm going to say exclude all of these. I think we have our loud vehicle going by for my video. It's always a requirement for every video that I make. All right, so now we've got it down to, this is a list of patterns. They're in the order Hot Right Now that use about this yardage. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to limit this to single strand, not going to be using multiple strands, and I'm going to limit it to, if I come down here, there should be a number of colors. I'm going to say just one color. Now, if I come back up here, now we see a list of items that I could potentially make. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff here. I've got already a, what was it, another skein of yarn that I'm going to be making a shawl with. I don't really want to do a shawl with this. And so there's some different possibilities here, but I'm not sure if this is what I want to do with these. So the interesting thing with fingering yarn, of course, is you can choose to use it doubled up. And I have to credit, you should look at who the commenter was, but there was somebody who commented when I asked for suggestions in my last episode. I think it was episode 57 of my knitting podcast, or whatever you want to call it. I asked for suggestions for this yarn, and somebody suggested the Sophie scarf. And as soon as they said that, I realized, you know what I really could do is I could look at using this yarn doubled up. That would even work further to defeat any pooling, and maybe have kind of an interesting result. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch this up a little bit, and we're going to keep it on single strand, but we're going to switch the weight from fingering or light fingering to DK. We know that it will work up as DK when used doubled, and now we have to decrease the yardage by half. So I'm going to put in 230 yards. So let me edit that. Here we go. So 230, I'm going to put that in. I'm going to hit apply. Now, if we scroll, look at that. What's first? It's the Sophie scarf. And so I love the suggestion of the Sophie scarf, but I've made a couple of those, and I don't think I want to use that for this. Now, the other one I'm kind of interested in is that Riptide Scarflet here, but I've got a different yarn in mind for that. I have a request from my middle son for a skinny scarf in one of the yarns that I have. And so I know what I want to use for that, so I'm going to save that as an idea too. See a variety of hats in here. and that kind of thing. So let me think. So one of the other things I do, so there's a ton of stuff here, but sometimes I like to think about what's in my favorites or in my library. So I can come down here and I can mark in my favorites, to mark in my library, and let's see, I'll put favorite designers in here too. All right, let's scroll back up. And so again, we see these are ones in my favorites. There's a variety of scarves and hats. And let's see. Oh yeah, so this is a good listing. I'm interested in this listing. So again, there's a possibility of kind of a skinny scarf or a hat. I do love this mountaintop wrap, but I have another yarn in mind for that. There's some mitts. And, oh, you know what? I'm going to take off the limitation of one color. This will give us a little more variety. Sometimes I like things that are, you can look at things that are striped and say, do it with one color. So I want to see those possibilities as well. All right, so notice, so what I want to call out is there's a few things in my library that might be interesting. Now this Crown Shy hat, my only trouble with a textured hat with this yarn is I think any texture with this variegated yarn is going to be lost. Because this is really, if I use this double, I think it's going to be a very marled in appearance when it's knit up, and I think that'll get lost in a hat like that. Let's see what else is here. So I don't think I want to do texture. So I see that some dustland stuff here, and I do like those. You know, I've made this Ophidia hat here before, but again, that's better with solids. So let's see. I can find this. There's something oh, this is this. Oh, there's more than one page. So one of the things I want to point out on this page is this striped up sweater. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. So this is one of the things when I thought about using this as a DK two-stranded, thought it'd be interesting to make a dog sweater. Now my dog Odo has about an 18-inch chest, and I've made several dog sweaters for him before, and I think this yarn would look really good. He's kind of a off-white with cream colors on him, and so I think he would look good in this color. So I think I want to consider this as a possibility. Now it says the main color and the contrast color for the third size is a total of 170 yards. I would definitely have enough for that. So I would be able to do a dog sweater for my dog. So the other things, and that is a pattern that's in my library already. Now there was another hat. See if I can find it. This was another one I've seen. So I have seen, let me open this up on another page. And so this is the Teeny Weeny Beanie by Jean-Philippe Cliché. I don't know if you say it that way. And this is kind of a neat hat. I've seen, oh my goodness, Piece for Piece Crafting, Michael from Piece for Piece Crafting, he's made this hat, and I think it looks really neat. And I have started thinking about Christmas gifts, and I was thinking that this might work up really nice for this hat and be a gift for my youngest son. So I'm thinking for my middle son, I'll make him a scarflet. For my youngest son, maybe I'll make him a hat. Maybe this would be a good yarn for that. And stuff. So maybe. So there's two possibilities. So we're talking about a dog sweater or a hat, a little different each one. Now let's see if there's any other ones in here I'm interested in. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a minimum yardage too, because excuse my, let's see what messages. Oh, that looks like a spam message to me. It's like I should have silenced my phone before I started this. All right, I'm going to edit this yardage and I'm going to put a minimum of, I'm going to say 130. I'm going to see what happens with the search. All right, so we're looking in my favorites and in my library. Minimum 130 to 230 yards used, and no socks. We're excluding socks. So again, just seeing if anything catches my eye. So yeah, I am intrigued by that teeny weeny beanie and the dog sweater. Seeing a few other dog sweaters here. That's kind of a cool one, but that is not in my pattern library, this harness friendly one. Let me bring this up really quick. That's an interesting one. All right, let's go back to the search list again. Now, let's see. Anything else stand out in here? Lots of hats, obviously. Yeah, there is one cowl. And so as we go further back in the list, this is the less and less hot stuff. All right. This lava flow cowl reminds me a lot of a lace weight cowl that I made. Let's see, but not interested in that. Don't see anything else kind of popping out to me, but I'm definitely on board with using this yarn, 2 strands, to do a DK weight yarn. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see. Very Busy Monkey often has really nice patterns. I've made some of her socks before. Yes, I do. What? Hold on for a second. Yucca, I really like. She's got some great sock patterns that I've made. And these are, oh, I see, just fingerless mitts. I see, so you can wear them either way. That's an interesting idea. I want to keep that in mind, but not for this pattern. Go back to the pattern search. A few shawls. I think. Okay, so that's for the cap. I see that sweater. I can tell that's Ann Hansen, yeah. Even without looking at the name down here. Thea Coleman, I love her patterns as well. Another Ann Hansen pattern. Thea Coleman. Oh yeah, of course, these are showing some of my favorite pattern designers. This Orc Slayer is from a set of patterns I have called Men in Knitwear that are almost like a beefcake calendar kind of thing with men wearing knitwear. And they came with all the patterns. Let's see. I think I don't want to make at least not a hat for me with this. And I think if I make something for my youngest son, I would want it to be a beanie type hat. So I think, I'm not sure about this one here. So I think it's really between, let's put this up there and this over here. And so I think it's between making this teeny weeny beanie or the striped pup sweater. Now, my main concern with this color is I'm not sure my youngest son would be interested in this as a color. So I think I'm going to make a dog sweater with this. So that's what my pick is going to be. I'm going to use this 2-stranded DK. I have this striped pup sweater in my library, but basically I'm going to make it unstriped. And Odell will have a new sweater for this winter. So So that's what I'm going to do with this Yarn Randomizer Pick number 20 for this year. So yeah, so that's it. So this is the first example of kind of trying to find a pattern. I'll record one for Yarn Randomizer Pick number 21 here shortly. But let me know if you like the video, if you have any questions about how I use Ravelry to find the pattern, and anything. So otherwise, in the meantime, enjoy your knits.